Ag Secretary Madigan comments on environmental issues. That, a look at the peanut seed shortage, a farm credit update, and more for Monday, April 22nd.
Good morning. This is the Morning Ag Report with Wayne Jenkins and Brian Baxter, bringing you the world of farm and agribusiness information.
Good morning to you and welcome to this Monday edition of the Morning Ag Report. I'm Brian Baxter.
And I'm Wayne Jenkins. We're glad you could join us on this 22nd morning of April, just in the shank of this month.
That's right. We're getting deep into spring, and a lot of farmers are getting deep in some mud that the rain has really stalled planting around much of the country.
Yeah, it really has. Soil temperatures are coming up nicely enough, but you just, you can't get the equipment in the field.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. First news this morning, Brian. The grain and soybean markets got a boost last Friday from continued talk of a possible additional allocation of USDA export credit guarantees for the Soviet Union. The spark on Friday came from USDA spokeswoman Kelly Shipp, who revealed that the Soviets have actually requested $1.5 billion in credit guarantees. That's 3 times the $500 million traders had thought the Soviets were requesting. The Soviets have already used $1 billion in USDA credit guarantees offered in December, but there is considerable doubt as to whether the request for additional credit will be granted. Kelly Shipp said the USDA is considering the request, but she said there are serious concerns about the Soviets' ability to pay back the amount borrowed.
In other news, in testimony on Capitol Hill last week, Agriculture Secretary Ed Madigan said the financial health of U.S. agriculture as a whole has recovered substantially from the severe stresses of the past decade. Madigan also noted the current problems of dairy farmers and promised to have a USDA dairy policy study ready for Congress by mid-June in hopes of finding a solution to the milk supply-demand imbalance. Also last week, Secretary Madigan spoke at the annual meeting of ag journalists, and he detailed 2 major goals for his time at the USDA.
Protecting the environment, even as we protect the rights of our farmers to use the land and the rights of our citizens to a safe and abundant food supply. Simplifying the way in which our farmers are forced to do business by doing our best to reduce the paperwork burden on them and increasing their ability to make their own choices.
Secretary Madigan also said he believes it's appropriate for the USDA to educate farmers about the proper use of farm chemicals, and he said the Conservation Reserve Program will be expanded and open not only to highly erodible lands, but to cropland in areas where ground and surface water quality is a concern.
Bad news last Friday for meatpacking company IBP Incorporated. The firm reported a first quarter loss of $9.1 million. That compares with a $4.4 million profit in the same period a year ago. IBP Chairman Robert Peterson said tight livestock supplies coupled with a recession fed a decline in demand and has made this one of the most difficult periods the nation's meatpackers have seen in recent decades. And sales of new farm tractors will rise this year. That was the word in a monthly Farm Outlook report issued last week by the USDA. The report said stronger farm finances, expanding credit availability, and an aging stock of equipment are among several factors pointing to a 4% rise in sales of new tractors and farm machinery this year.
Well, husbands and wives involved in farming now qualify separately under USDA payment rules, allowing them to each collect up to $50,000 in annual subsidies on the same farm. That announcement came from the USDA last week when it issued new farm payment rules resulting from the 1990 Farm Act. Under the previous rule, a husband and wife were considered as one unit when it came to government farm payments. Peanut growers face some problems this year. The federal peanut program is the subject of some controversy as peanut processors are urging the government to allow more imported peanuts into the United States, and the issue has opened the entire peanut quota system up for debate. On the production side, last year's drought has impacted peanut seed supplies, as Joe Corson reports from Georgia.
Donald Massey won't lower his standards and take a chance with his peanut crop like some farmers will this year. He bought the highest quality, certified seed that he could find, paying top dollar for top quality.
I would be unwilling to go with the doubtful seed under any circumstance.
There will be plenty of doubtful seeds out there this year because of last year's drought that severely hurt seed quality.
Seed supplies this year are going to be marginal, both from the standpoint of availability of seed and quality of seed.
Peanut seed prices have almost doubled since last year, jumping from about 75 cents per pound to about $1.25. Peanut experts with the Extension Service say farmers may refuse to pay the higher prices for certified seed and plant non-certified seed, a high-risk, low-cost seed. Many peanut farmers believe, say the experts, that they can plant more seeds to make up for the lack of seed quality.
We caution growers not to arbitrarily reduce their seeding rates because the cost of seed may be high. It should be based on the quality of that seed.
The quality of this year's peanut seeds won't stack up to last year's quality, say the experts. And those farmers who pay the extra price for quality seeds will get what they pay for. Joe Corson for the Morning Ag Report.
Today's edition of the Morning Ag Report is brought to you in part by GMC Truck.
Later this morning, we'll take a look at ag credit in the 90s.
And coming next, we'll review Friday's closing grain and livestock futures prices.
Billion in credit guarantees, and contrary to earlier rumors, the Soviets supposedly want to buy mostly U.S. corn and soybean meal. Well, that started a fire under the bean prices, which cooled a little bit at midday, then rekindled by the close. Soybean meal ended strong, with soy oil settled on the mixed side compared with the week before. Nearby May bean futures were up 2 1/2 cents. On Friday, May beans settled at $5.90 1/4. That was up 8 1/4 cents. July beans finished at $6.03 3/4, up 9 1/4 cents. November beans settled at $6.21 1/4. That was up 9 cents on the day. May soybean oil gained 2 points at 21.33 cents. May soy meal stopped at $173.80. That was up $3.40.
Corn traders also liked the rumor about additional credits to the Soviet Union, but they had a cautious mood and the prices were limited in their gains on Friday. Many traders are wary about the Soviets' ability to repay loans. Prominent buyers in the Friday action included Griffin Trading, Refco Incorporated, and Rosenthal Collins. For the week, nearby May corn futures were down by 2 cents a bushel. In the Friday trade, May corn ended at $2.56 3/4, up 2 3/4 cents. July up 3 1/4 at $2.63 3/4, and new crop December corn closed 2 1/4 cents higher at $2.60 1/4.
Forecasts for some weekend rains in the major wheat growing areas of the U.S. kept wheat prices quiet last Friday. Traders were optimistic but cautious about the possibility of new export credits to Moscow. Nevertheless, most of the wheat futures made some slight gains. For the week, May Chicago wheat futures lost 9 1/2 cents, but at Friday's close, May wheat settled at $2.78 3/4. That was up 1 1/2 cents. July Chicago wheat ended at $2.89 3/4. That was up 1 1/2 cents. May Kansas City wheat settled at $2.86. That was up 1 1/2 cents. And May Minneapolis wheat stopped at $2.86 1/4, and that too was up 1 1/2 cents.
Concerns about early planting conditions for cotton added some underlying support to cotton prices in the Friday action. The markets were higher in New York at the open and basically stayed that way through the day due to a lack of selling interest. For last week overall, though, May cotton futures were down 174 points. In the Friday trade, May was going the other way, up 27 at 86.75 cents. July gained 45 points, closing at 87.01 cents, and new crop December up 2 at 71.38.
And on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, live cattle futures ended last week on a downturn, except for the nearby April contract. Trading was thin. Pressure came from long liquidation ahead of the USDA quarterly cattle on feed report. Traders thought the report would show the largest on-feed inventory since 1979. Well, after the close, the USDA 13-state cattle on feed report pegged January through March marketings at 99% of a year ago. The trade thought it would be 98.1%. Placements for the quarter came in at 97% of a year ago. The average trade guess, 97.5%. Total 13-state cattle on feed came in at 108% of year-ago figures. The trade's average guess was 109.3%. The report called neutral to bullish, with the cash market still in control. And for the week, April live cattle were down $1.20. The Friday bill, April live cattle were at $79.90, unchanged. June live cattle lost a dime at $75.72. April feeders lost 13 cents, ending the week at 89.97. May feeders dropped 22 cents at 87.45. Cash cattle markets steady to 50 cents lower. Texas Oklahoma steers topped at 80.50. Nebraska direct had a top of 80.75. The Friday slaughter 122,000, and the kill for the week 634,000.
Live hog futures settled higher on Friday in light pre-weekend trading. There was some buying linked with short covering and some squaring ahead of the cattle on feed report. Despite large hog runs last week, cash hogs did make gains last Friday. Pork bellies had losses, though. Here's the way that we shaped up for last week overall in the nearby hog contract, down 3 cents. At the Friday close, the April live hogs were up 57 at 52.42. June up 13 at 57.55. May bellies down 35 at 61.27. Cash markets as much as $1 higher Friday. Indiana direct a top of 50.50. Ohio direct $50. Iowa Southern Minnesota a top of 52.50. The slaughter Friday 324,000. The kill for the week 1,707,000. Last Friday, slaughter lambs were not tested at Midwest market centers. Fort Collins slaughter lambs, though, ranged from $1 to $2 higher, and the prices were from $61.50 to $62.50. El Reno, Oklahoma slaughter lambs, a top of $55. The Friday sheep slaughter was $21,000. The kill for the week, $104,000.
And on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the week at 2965.10. That's a drop of 34.16 points for the day. The volume pretty hefty, 194 billion shares. Losers outstripped the gainers 2-1. NYSE index fell 2.10 points, finishing the week at 210.18.
Still ahead, we'll have weather outlooks for the rest of this week in your farm weather.
But first, we'll talk with Purdue ag economist Freddie Barnard about ag credit and banking in the 90s.
One of the smart things farmers do every spring is stock up on mobile products while they're on sale. Products like Mobile Delvac 1300 Super Engine Oil, a top quality oil that can give longer engine life. And when you visit your mobile distributor, enter the Mobile Farm Lubricant Sweepstakes, your chance to win $500 worth of mobile products. See your mobile distributor for details. Entries must be postmarked by April 30th.
About financial standards for agriculture, what direction are you heading on this?
The American Bankers Association initiated an effort in 1989 to form a task force that included people from across the country and across lending institutions to try to develop some standards or guidelines for financial reporting in agriculture. That includes both the development of financial statements and the calculation of financial ratios and measures.
How does this affect the farmer who's coming into his banker for a loan?
Well, it affects the individual farmer in that they may be requested to provide additional information in the future to the lender in order to obtain a loan. Primarily, information related to the income statement. We've asked farmers for years to provide balance sheets and cash flow statements. Now there's a lot more emphasis on the income statement, and I'm talking about an accrual adjusted income statement. And that information then can be used to calculate some of these ratios and measures.
Will this then be beneficial for both the farmer and the agricultural banker?
Well, both parties benefit when they provide this additional information to do more in-depth analysis. The lender benefits because they've got more information from the borrower and they can do a better job of analyzing the credit. The farmer also benefits because he then has a better look financially at his business there and can identify strengths and weaknesses.
In the backs of the minds of both farmers and agricultural lenders, are the mid and late 1980s, the memories of those things, are they still there?
I'm sure that's in the back of their minds now, as far as how they quantitatively measure that and bring that into the decision. I'm not sure there's a lot of that, but I'm sure they're aware of what's going on and the potential risk involved with some of these potential environmental hazards. And that has to have an impact on the lending decision because it affects the risk of that loan.
How about money available for loans this year? Is there enough?
From looking at some of the reports from the Federal Reserve and others, it appears that there is adequate funding available for crops this spring. But lenders are selective. They're very selective on who they grant credit to. And so even though it's available, it is not something that can be taken lightly. It's something that's, there's a lot of analysis that goes on, and they're very careful as to who they extend those loans to. The memories of the 1980s are still fresh in our minds.
Thank you very much, Freddie. And in a moment, we'll have a look at today's weather.
One of the smart things farmers do every spring is stock up on mobile products while they're on sale. Products like Mobile Fluid 423, a top-quality multi-purpose lubricant for common transmissions, final drives, power steering, and hydraulic systems, especially in today's larger tractors. And don't forget to enter the Mobile Farm Lubricant Sweepstakes, your chance to win $500 worth of mobile products. The deadline is April 30th. See your mobile distributor today.
Hi, I'm Robert, and thanks for watching the Morning Ag Report.
Today's weather is brought to you by Mobil, the makers of Delvac 1300 Super and Mobile Fluid 423. And don't forget to enter the Mobile Farm Lubricant Sweepstakes. Just look for this display at your local Mobil distributor. You could win $500 worth of mobile products right here on the Morning Ag Report starting May 13th. See your local distributor for details. Well, Brian, we have more rains from the Eastern Plains to the Appalachians today.
We do. What we really need is a shift in the jet stream and move that rain out to the west where they really need it and get it out of the east where we've had more than enough already. Here's a look at the low temperatures this morning around the country. The 30s showed up from the upper lakes to New England, and the temperatures rose gradually to the 70s in South Texas and South Florida. Now here's a look at the surface map for today. The surges of rain that have kept field work at a slow pace in the Corn Belt and the Gulf are keeping a rather constant pattern. 1 or 2 days of moderate drying of soils and then right back to the rains. This morning's map shows a slow-moving low near St. Louis that's responsible for a wide rain shield today covering the eastern two-thirds of the Gulf Coast, spreading northward into much of the Great Lakes region. The precipitation will be scattered in nature. Field work will be catch as catch can, therefore, and the best opportunities, of course, on the sandy soils. Midwest soil temperatures keep inching upward. Germination rates are good in the moist soils where planting has been possible. To the west, a mountain snow valley rain regime is the call. High temperatures today will range from the 80s in the south to the 40s in the upper lakes and New England. Wayne, how about the rest of this week?
Well, Brian, the weather projections from tomorrow through Saturday call for California, Arizona, and New Mexico to be cooler than usual. Tennessee, state of Tennessee also falls into the cooler than normal range. Above normal temperatures are forecast to occur in Florida and in the northern tier of states with an extension into the Central Plains. North Dakota has a good chance of experiencing much above normal readings. Precipitation from the 23rd through the 27th expected to be above normal from California and Oregon through the northern Rockies, the Central Plains, and on to much of the Atlantic coast. Southern Florida will also have above normal precipitation for the period. Minnesota on the dry side. Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas will have little, if any, precipitation from tomorrow through Saturday. Well, right now, I'll pause for some local forecasts and conditions. And that's your farm weather for today.
And now we turn it back over to Wayne for this week's View from the Editor's Desk.
And here we go again, Brian.
Okay.
The administrator of the USDA's Ag Marketing Service, Dan Haley, I should say, says his group is looking for comments on proposed catsup standards that would make the product thicker. Well, Haley says major catsup producers say consumers prefer thicker catsup. Well, they didn't ask this consumer. Let me ask you, how many of you have opened a bottle of ketchup and pounded and shook and even stuck a knife into the opening just to get the stuff to flow? It's easier to stuff a Wildcat into a bag than it is to get ketchup out of a bottle. And they say consumers prefer thicker ketchup. Well, I'll admit that once it gets going, it comes out in a rush, but that's part of the game. The fine art of getting it to start and then avoiding the deluge. Now, catsup ain't broke, boys, so don't try to fix it. And that's the view from this editor's desk. I'm Wayne Jenkins. I almost didn't get through that.
I know that. Well, you feel pretty strongly about this one, though.
Well, yeah, doggone it, come on. Ketchup is ketchup. It's okay. Let it alone.
What's next? Mustard, I suppose.
Who knows?
That's it for this edition of the Morning Ag Report. Thanks for taking time to be with us. I'm Brian Baxter.
I'm Wayne Jenkins. Have a great farming day.